All right. Well, did everybody get a syllabus? Yes? Let's get started. This is chemistry, right? I'm in the right place. I'm Andy. My name is Andy Aspas. I have an unusual Scandinavian last name that's pronounced Aspas, but you can feel free to call me Andy. I'm totally good with that. Some people call me Mr. Aspas or Professor Aspas, but Andy is just fine. Be aware, though, that my first name is Andrew, so if you email me, it has to be andrew.aspas@anokeramsey.edu. Okay. So we are going to talk today. We're going to go through the syllabus a little bit, do some introductory type material. So let's just start with D2L here. This is a hybrid class, and we'll talk about what that means, but job one is going to be for you to get logged into D2L. And the easiest way, a lot of you probably know this, but you hover over Student Home, you do Desire to Learn right there. You log in with your star ID and your password there. So for us, we are 102090. It should show up right there. And I will update this news section here on the front page of our D2L course after every class. So everything that is current and upcoming, I'll have reminders for in there. Also, I have it set up with the calendar over here. That should list upcoming due dates for everything, sort of by date. So everything should sort of be nicely organized that way. So, oh, excuse me. I'm going to go over here as student here, and I'm going to go in content. So that's where all the good stuff is. And the syllabus is also here under handouts in content. And in D2L, things show up inside this little window on the page, but you can click this button right here to give it its own window. So if you're looking through handouts or something like that, that's always handy. So that was just a way to get the syllabus up here. So let's just talk real briefly about the basics of this course here. There is a math prerequisite, so it's Math 0200 you must have passed, and I think they enforce that now for you to be able to register. But also, if you took the AccuPlacer test, if you're a new student here, you took the AccuPlacer test, and you had to have been placed beyond Math 0200 in order to register in here. So if maybe you just barely squeaked by in your math class, or maybe it's been a while since you had your math class, or if you're feeling not so confident about your math skills, that's something that we need to sort of get on right away in here. So when we get to optional materials, we'll talk about extra math resources and extra things you can do for practice and for help if you need it. Okay? So we meet every Tuesday, right, whole semester. We do lecture from 6 to 7:15 in here, and then we go upstairs to lab from 7:30 to 9:20. Right? So the hybrid portion of this course comes because this lecture time right here is half as much time as it normally is. This is usually a 3-hour lecture per week, so we're in here for an hour and 15 minutes. Okay? So we'll talk about how we make up the rest of that time. My office is E224, which you'll notice is right by E221 where the lab is. So my office is just right across the hall from the lab upstairs. My office hours are listed here. I have an office hour which will be very useful for you guys. The hour before our lecture, I'm in my office. So definitely take advantage of that or any of the office hours that you have here. That's time I'm sitting in my office with the door open, ready for you to come and visit. So any questions, any issues, want to work problems or chat or whatever, come and visit me in my office hours especially, and we'll get it done there. Okay. So what I'm going to do, that's sort of the basics of it. Rather than me drone on through this whole thing, if you have, let's see here, if you have your, well, we'll talk about that when we get to required materials here in a second. So, and we'll get through all that stuff. Here's what we're going to do. It's just sort of a little different way of dealing with the syllabus drudgery. I'm going to break you up into 6 groups, just sort of by where you're sitting. I'm going to assign you one of the major sections of the syllabus here, listed this way. So when you're in your groups, what I would like you to do is sort of read through it together, decide what sort of the most important points are from that section, and elect a speaker from your group. And after a few minutes, we will go around, and the speaker from each group will sort of summarize what the most important parts are. Okay? So a little slightly less dull way of dealing with the syllabus. So think about what are the key things from this section that we ought to physically talk about in class today. We do an awful lot of that in a hybrid class. What are the most important things that we need to actually talk about here together? So, so how are we going to do this? Okay, so I'm going to have to do 3 and 3. Okay. So 1, 2. Okay. Okay. So you 3, number 1. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. You 4. You can squish around over there. You'll do number 2. Okay. And then you 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll sort of turn around there. You'll do number 3. You'll do lab. Okay. All right. I'm going to do this. Okay. So, all right. I got it. You 4 right here. You're number 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll do number 5. Okay. And then a little bigger group, you squeeze together, and maybe you just turn around here. You guys will do the studying section. That work for everybody? Cool. Okay, so maybe introduce yourself quickly. Just say who you are and why you're here. Read through the section. Try to summarize it. All right. Yeah. Here you go. Maybe you 3 turn around and sit that way, and then you're actually facing each other. So. There. Okay. Yes?
On the schedule, not that it matters, but it says 9:10.
9:10 p.m.? 6, 7. Yeah. No, that's right.
Is it 9:10 or 9:20?
Yeah.
I
I think it's 9:20, but yeah, I think it's 9:20 technically, but well, you'll be done by 9:10. It's not a big deal. Okay. Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah, that's a good idea. Somebody sort of keep track of the main points that you're going to be sharing. Decide who's going to be talking to. That's important. Turn that on while you're working, at least. What's this thing? Cool. Winner. Another minute or two? Figure out who's talking to. A couple main ideas. All right. You're done when you're done.
If you're comfortable, if you're not, otherwise I will. It looks like it's just pretty much. I think you got
All right, everybody. So let's go around one group at a time. The lucky elected speaker from each group will get to tell us what the most important parts are from their part of the syllabus. So we will start required and optional materials. That's you people up here? Okay, go ahead. Let's give our attention to, what's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, let's give our attention to Sarah, please.
Okay, for required materials is the textbook, a math, or do I have to read the whole title? Or just the
You don't need the title. The textbook looks like this. There you go.
textbook or end mastering chemistry access. Now there is an ebook on there, so if you don't want the textbook, you can just have the ebook with the access card.
Correct. And there's sort of three options, so you can do one of those. If you get it new, it comes with Mastering Chemistry. If you get a used textbook from wherever, you have to get the standalone Mastering Chemistry from that second link. Or if you go to masteringchemistry.com, you can get the access with an ebook if you're into that. So, three options. But
And then you need
go do
a
that.
lab manual,
Okay.
lecture notes, And you need internet connected computer outside of class.
Correct. Looks like everybody's got them in your three-ring binders already. But there are two bundled packets here. Yeah, hold those up. Okay, they're there. Okay. One is laboratory experiments. The other is the notes. Okay. So, yep. So you need both of those. Okay. If you don't have them today, that's not the end of the world, but you have to have them for next week. Absolutely. So, lecture notes. Get yourself a calculator. Okay, get yourself a scientific calculator. Just one of these little deals. Or I listed off these two. Those are sort of the most popular ones. But any little scientific calculator that has a log key on it. Right. Look for that log key. That's important. Do not use your cell phone as a scientific calculator in here. Everybody has a cell phone now with a scientific calculator, but you cannot use that on exams. So get yourself a cheap little scientific calculator. Practice doing your homework and doing your studying with that calculator so that you're using that on exams too. Okay? And bring your calculator with to class every time and to lab every time. We will be using it pretty much every time. Okay? So get that for next week. We'll be using the heck out of those next week already. Okay. Optional materials.
Yes, there is optional. There's an essential algebra for chemistry students. There's other study guides and solution manuals. I have the visual chemistry book or packet, and I find that really helpful. It has the pictures and different ways.
Absolutely.
The website links that are in the D2L course.
Mm-hmm.
I was down there last night.
Correct.
There's lots of different notes.
A
and
ton of stuff in there. Yep.
And there's tutoring on campus and online tutoring.
Absolutely. The tutors are available at the Academic Support Center. There are chemistry tutors there 5 days a week. Okay. So Academic Support Center is just right inside the door upstairs by the information desk. A regret I hear very commonly from students is that they waited too long to go and get help. So, so if things are starting to go south or if you feel yourself getting behind and it's getting away from you, do not wait. Go visit the tutoring center. Come and visit my office hours. There's plenty of ways you can get help. Okay? At the very least, meet with a study group or something. Okay? But just doing nothing will just make it worse, and you will get more and more behind, and it's not going to end well. Yeah. And the Academic Support Center is great, especially if you've been working through problems and you're kind of stuck. Right? If you can bring something specific to work on there, that's when they'll probably be the most helpful. Okay. So, questions about required and optional materials? That work for everybody? Okay. Academic civility. Number 2, that's you. Okay.
So we have it, be respectful of the instructor by reducing distractions such as electronics and cell phones and junk. And no sleeping. And then
Man.
take responsibility for your own actions. So if you miss class, you're responsible for getting notes and all your makeup time. And then prepare for the challenges of the classroom and what's ahead.
Yep.
It's not easy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. He said prepare for challenges. That's fine. Yeah, be aware that this is a college level course. It is not going to be easy by any means, and there's nothing wrong with that. The way you learn, I keep telling my 5-year-old, the way you learn is by trying and challenging yourself and you know, being if something's easy for you, then you're not really learning anything. So the challenge is mostly involved with your attitude towards it. Are you viewing it as a challenge that you're going to try to overcome to get the best out of yourself, or are you going to be a victim of it being too hard and you can't do it? You know, so it's your own attitude that actually determines a whole lot of that. So, alrighty, who is talking about lab? Back there, go ahead.
Be on time.
Yeah.
Ran
participation points are earned by cleaning up after yourself. If you clear with Andy, you can schedule lab on the same week to make it up for say if you miss it. You can post lab quizzes must be complete before future labs are taken, and your lab will be judged by timely, untardiness, preparedness, attitude, team effort, and your safety.
Yeah. So I just said consequences for missing lab. What if you miss one lab? Are you totally screwed if you just miss one lab?
Make it up.
Yeah, you can make it up, or score-wise.
Oh, your lowest
There we go.
lab gets dropped off at the end.
Okay. So if you miss one lab, you're okay as long as you don't miss any more. Okay. But anything past that, points are lost, and there are more severe consequences for missing any more than that. When we are in lab tonight, we'll talk more specifically about that. We have a whole sheet of lab policies that we'll go through. Okay, so alrighty, over there, somebody, homework, quizzes, discussion boards.
Alright, so for homework, pretty much just reading assignments, lecture videos, and textbook practice problems should be done before we come to lecture. That way if we have any questions, they can be addressed then. There's also online homework on mastering chemistry. There's one assignment a week worth 5 points, and the lowest assignment is dropped at the end of the semester. Quizzes, there's just a small number, as usually 3,
Mhm.
likely online, and those are worth 15 points each. Possible makeup if you miss one for an excused absence. Discussion board is online on D2L, and you need to make at least 1 post per chapter.
That was summarized marvelously. So this would be a good time to look at, to go a couple of pages forward in the syllabus and look at page 7. Okay. Page 7 lists the content in the textbook that we're responsible for. You are to read the sections in the textbook that it says before we cover them in class. What is typical of students is that any kind of familiarity with the material through reading will only help to cement and reinforce additional exposure to that material. Okay? In other words, even if you don't understand it reading through it once, any kind of familiarity that you have, even if you have a question about something or if you're sort of confused about something after the reading, that's actually good, because then you can bring that forward and you sort of seek to resolve that, and that makes the connection stronger in your brain. So that's actually very effective. These problem assignments are at the end of each chapter. The students that do excellent in this class have a notebook and are going through and they're doing them all. So that's not something that gets handed in or graded by me, but that is a very reasonable set of practice that a student would need to do in order to do really well in this class, I think. All of the answers for those are in the back of the textbook, so you can check yourself, but I think maybe you guys will talk about that a little bit. Don't cheat and peek at the answer and try to get the answer, getting your problem. That's not helping anything. Struggle through it and get something. Get some kind of answer and then check to see just if you're right or not. Okay? And if you're not right, go right back to your work and compare it with something else or something like that. Okay? That's a much more effective way of practicing with something that you have an answer to. Okay? These ones are, so mastering chemistry is a little different. That's homework that you'll do sort of for points. This is just kind of for your own practice. Right? Okay, so go to the next page. This giant table is sort of your Bible for this class. Okay? So you can use this as sort of a checklist. Students in this hybrid course before, you kind of just check through things as you complete them. Each line is 1 week, right? So this will represent all the things that you're pretty much doing over the course of the week, all the required things over the course of the week, okay? So let's start right here. Here's January 13. Nothing was due at 6 p.m. today, so that's good. You guys are you guys are clear for now, okay? In lecture, that's right now, we're doing intro and we're going to do chapter 1. In lab later, we're going to do intro and safety. We don't have any post-lab quiz this week, okay? But then on the next line over here, these are all the things right here that are going to be due at 6 p.m. next week. See how that works? Okay. So mastering chemistry, I'll open up mastering chemistry here in just a second to show it to you. Okay. But there's an intro assignment in mastering chemistry that's due next week. Okay. There is a reading assignment, chapter 1 and half of chapter 2. There is a lecture video, which you'll need to watch. The other half of the time that you're not spending in class here is made up mostly through these lecture videos for each week. Okay? Now, I make these just for you guys. Okay? So before I had sort of edited together in-class videos, and that was okay, but this is going to be even better. These are made just for you guys. That does mean you probably won't be able to work too much ahead. I'm just going to sort of be 1 week ahead of you guys making these. So, but they'll definitely be up in time for you to get a week's worth of work out of them. So those are in D2L. They're in content. I want to just make you aware that here are lecture videos right here. That has a due date with it. The video opens up in its portion of the window right there. You can make it bigger or smaller, I guess. If you're having any issues with this, there's a little YouTube button right here that opens that same thing up in a YouTube page. You know, YouTube hosts this, but if you're having any troubles with it being embedded, it can open right here. And also notice each of these is a playlist. Okay? So don't just get done with the first one. It'll probably be about an hour total of video that you can either binge watch or you can break it apart over the course of the week, however you want to do it. Okay? But it is a playlist, and it sort of goes by section, which is nice because up in the corner here, you get a little table of contents of the sections. Okay? It should go one to the next. Okay? So just make sure that you're getting through all the sections. There is a little forward and back there that gets you to the next and previous sections in that YouTube playlist. Okay? But make sure that you actually get through the whole thing. So for instance, coming up next week, you should be able to get all the way through calculations with significant figures. And you will be watching this and filling in your notes packet as you go. Okay? So this is going to be a video of me writing. You're going to hear me talking and see me writing. You're going to be working right along with it. Okay? So it's sing along with Andy as you're doing this. Okay? So there will be several times where I'll maybe do something, and then I'll say, okay, now pause the video and you try this. Okay? Do that. Pause the video, give it a try. I'll usually have maybe a little quick explanation of it after that, but actually pause the video when I tell you to and give it a try on your own. That's how you actually learn this stuff. Okay? You will put yourself in big trouble in here if you don't do these videos. Okay? That's actually sort of worse than just skipping class. Okay? You can usually maybe squeeze by skipping some classes. We're going to be in here in class, and we're going to be working in groups under the assumption that every one of you has watched these videos and gotten through the notes up to that point. Okay? So take that as you will, but that's going to be very important. Okay? So that's in D2L. It'll be about 1 hour worth each week, broken into 4 or 5 parts usually. Okay? So each part is just 20 minutes. You can do that just sitting down. No big deal. All right. I mentioned mastering chemistry. Several of you have actually gotten signed in, which is great. There are instructions for getting into mastering chemistry in the back of the syllabus. You can follow that step by step if you need to. Otherwise, I link to it right here. That would be a good thing for you to bookmark in your browser. Okay? But you will register as a student. You need a couple of things. The access code comes with how you purchase Mastering Chemistry. So if you get a new textbook, it comes with an access code. If you have a used textbook, you got to go to that link, and you got to pay a sort of, it's a special deal we got just for standalone access, so you got to pay for it. Okay? Or you can just buy it right here, and that gets you the ebook access too. Okay? But one way or another, you got to show that you paid for it. And then the course ID, it's in the syllabus, it's in the Mastering Chemistry directions at the end, but it is also in the where is it? In the news. Several of you found it already, but right here in the news, MC ASBUS 83549. So you got to put that in, and it'll be right here in D2L. Actually, I'll put a new one up here so it will have gone down, but you just scroll down to it. Okay? But that's the course ID that you need. Okay? So it's right there. It is also on page, let me tell you right here, page 10 of your syllabus. Okay? So get that done right away. Okay? I really do not look forward to next Tuesday if people put this kind of thing off. So so get this sort of thing done right away. Get it taken care of. Mastering chemistry, you will. I don't think you'll have too much troubles with it. It is a fairly refined system, and if any of you used Mastering Chemistry before, your same login will still work, but you need to use the course ID from this course, okay, to get into this class's assignments. If you used Mastering Chemistry before, you were infuriated by the Java of the structure editor and stuff like that. There's no more Java. The structure editor works just great. No plugins, no nothing. So everything should be just fine in here. Let's hope. Do you have a question?
So if we used it before, we don't need to add code?
You need to. So if you've used Mastering Chemistry before, depending on how long ago it was, it may still be active. So just try your old login. If it lets you in, that's great. If not, you have to get a new access. Okay. Everybody, whether you've used it before or not, needs to use the course ID in order to get into our class. Okay, that makes sense. The intro assignment. Most of it is just getting to know Mastering Chemistry type stuff. I leave these little notes for you guys. So it's just introductions. And any of these are ones that offer you full credit for just trying each of the blanks. Okay? So get in there, try out how it takes things, try entering wrong answers. Try going in through the hints. Oops. Or not. Wah, wah. Limited access. Yeah. Okay. Most of the problems that I pick, almost all of them will have hints available. So definitely take advantage of that. In most cases, it'll have just a list of sort of problem-solving things that you can go through that sort of guides you along the way. If you open a hint, then it actually goes through and asks you questions and sort of guides you along within that hint, even. So if you do open a hint, you do have to answer the questions for that. But if you don't open the hints, you can just sort of read them, and it's nothing else. There is no penalty for opening hints, if you complete them. The only other thing is that if you see one where you're sure you're not going to need to use the hints, if you just enter the answer without accessing any hints, you get a little bit of a bonus. So, but definitely worth your time to go through the hints if you have any kind of question about doing a certain problem. You sort of get 6 attempts per blank, and your score goes down a little bit each time you get an attempt wrong. Okay? That's just how it works. Most students do very well on the Mastering Chemistry. It's a nice balance between giving you plenty of opportunities to kind of try things and figure it out. But The score does go down just a little bit for each wrong answer, so don't just enter garbage answers hoping that you'll get something at some point. Okay? You submit per question, so that means you can open it and close it and start it and stop it as many times as you like. No time limits, nothing like that. You can work on it in chunks and all that. It gives you the student view. All right, these are all the different sections of the assignment. It tells you if you've completed each of them. So you will be going through this, and then down at the very bottom it tells you what your score is for that assignment, and that's it. Okay, once you're finished. Okay. The assignments will be mostly post-lecture. In other words, we do activities and stuff for a certain topic, and then you're going to spend most of that mastering chemistry working on those kind of problems. Okay? But at the end of it, I do have some pre-lecture questions, which is the stuff that was covered in the video that you watch. Okay? So I tried to select the right kind of difficulty for the pre-lecture ones, so they should be relatively simple if you watch the video, but they should be relatively difficult if you don't watch the video. That's kind of the idea there. Okay? So, but does that make sense? There's sort of pre and post that's kind of with, but I didn't break them up. You didn't need all those different assignments, so it's all just sort of in the same assignment there. Okay? All right. So, I highly recommend getting logged into Mastering Chemistry right away. Get working on that intro Mastering Chemistry assignment. And get those done while, if I were to suggest an order, here, look at page, I didn't talk about that, look at page 3. I made sort of a recommended studying schedule that is just sort of a list of pretty much the things that you need to do over the week. And there's nothing magical about this. I pretty much just took the things that you need to do and divided them over kind of 7 days worth, sort of, or 4 pairs worth of days or something like that. So, you'll figure out a routine as we get going through this class. The really nice thing about this class is it's a weekly schedule. So we will have the same kind of things due each week. So you'll be able to get kind of a routine. My biggest recommendation would be to set aside a certain amount of time each day and just devote time each day splitting the stuff up. I've sort of split the tasks up for you here. You can sort of go by that and as a start before you really get a feel for how you're doing. If you we only meet once a week, so you're going to be tempted to just kind of take naps and stuff all through the week and work on this on Tuesday. But you'll probably have a bad time if you're just trying to get all this work done on Tuesday afternoon, quick before class happens. So it's going to be much better for you to pace yourself throughout the week and make it happen that way. I expounded on that a little bit more than I had meant to, but that's important stuff. That's fine. That's stuff that needed to be said. Okay, so the discussion boards, you will find those easily in D2L. It's just under communication in D2L. There's a general part for just sort of questions overall about the course, like when things are due or how you do this or where you find that. But then there's a section for each chapter. Okay? And what I'd like is for you to average 1 post per chapter. So you can, if something's confusing to you, ask a question, or helping somebody else out with something that they've already asked, that counts. Or just maybe sharing something you found useful and you're studying or something like that, that counts. Okay? So anything that could possibly be helpful to your classmates counts as a post per chapter. Okay? So that's not so hard. Okay? But just try to think of it as once per week and go in there. I'll be assessing that a couple of times through the semester, so you can't just bunch it all up at the end. Okay? So try to do it once per week. I would also, there's an introduce yourself part. I would also like you maybe at some point this week go and just do a little introduction in there. It's just kind of fun for me to read. Get to actually learn a little bit about you guys. So, okay, so that was kind of a lot. It's all in the syllabus. Okay? It's actually also all in D2L. It's all so it's in a lot of places. You're not gonna miss it. So, Questions? Nope. Good. All right. Exams. That must be somebody over here who lost the Rochambeau for that. Go for it.
We're going to have 3 midterm exams, and they're worth 100 points each.
Mhm.
And there's one final exam, which is worth 150 points. But the topics in the exams are basically covered throughout the lectures, under the lab, reading assignments, and problem assignments.
What happens with exam scoring in the final? Did you read about that? What does the final exam score do?
150.
What?
Better, if the percentage better than
Yeah.
your lowest 3 other
Yeah.
one of the 3 ones, it replaces it.
So if you happen to have a bad day on one of our exams, as long as you do better on your final than any one of your exams, the percent you got on your final will replace that exam's score. Okay? And that happens for most students. So if you do worse on your final, then everything is just worth its own points. Okay? If you have to miss an exam for an emergency or for some other good reason like that, make sure you contact me as soon as possible, and I will work with you. Okay? Before is best, but I know sometimes there are emergencies, but help me out there. Okay? All right, studying.
Alright. So for studying, you want to read the assignment text before each chapter, work on the review problems, stay organized and refer to page 3, form a study group, work on your time management and practice the problems. Just don't memorize facts, you need to understand the concepts and don't just cheat. Tutors are useful, so ask questions. And then teach others what you've learned as a repetitive learning tool.
Study groups are really popular for a class like this. You study, make sure though that you're actually able to do it yourself. I've had a couple of students in study groups that ended up never actually practicing how to do things on their own. So your primary source of learning is practicing how to do stuff on a blank sheet of paper, pretty much. Okay? So, do what you need to do in the meantime to help yourself along, but as we approach the first exam, you should be able to sort of anticipate what kind of things are going to be asked, and you should be able to do those sort of things on a blank piece of paper. That's sort of the ultimate goal that you should be able to get to. And the really strong students in here go into exams feeling very confident and end up doing well. So, all right. So that's a slightly less boring way of going through the syllabus, I think. But, of course, this is a college class. You are responsible for what's in the syllabus. So definitely take some time, look through it very carefully, keep it in a prominent place. But you can always refer back to it in D2L whenever you need to. Okay? Anybody have questions before we move on then? Well,